to Carrow Road, where Norwich City have earned their first back-to-back victories since May 2019, since they wrapped up the title at Villa Park. And it was a massive moment, to be frank. A totally and utterly dominant performance. Birmingham came and pretty much parked the bus, played certainly very defensively. Norwich had 73% of the possession. But given the last home game here at Carrow Road, the 1-0 against Derby, when they snatched it late on, there was definitely some nerves building around this place. And if the crowd had have been in, then there certainly would have been a lot more. But they got there in the end. Super Mario Vrancic, 87th minute with the winner. And the celebrations from the bench, from Farke, from his coaches, from all of them were massive, because they were starting to get very worried that goal wasn't going to come. And that, well, if Birmingham had have nicked it, particularly, it would have been a travesty. This was the best performance yet so far this season from Norwich. They did build on, that was a real scrap at Rotherham on Saturday, wasn't it? But they knew they had, on the back of that, against one of the newly promoted teams that they probably should be beating, but we know it's a difficult one, against a Birmingham team who didn't do well last year, only 2 points above the relegation zone in the end. Aita Karanka's come in and they're playing a more defensive style, as you would expect from him. They're striving to become more solid. They've taken that step in the right direction, but they haven't quite got their attacking threat yet. So I think they're a team who are still trying to find their balance, and thankfully Norwich have maybe played them a decent time. But with Wycombe to follow as well on Saturday, who, if it wasn't for Sheffield Wednesday's points deduction, would be bottom, and I think would still be on 0 points. It hadn't quite finished when I last saw it, but Reading were winning in injury time, and have really struggled since they stepped up to the Championship. So there was a big opportunity to get 6 points here this week, and to make it 3 on the spin. Of course, they've still got to do the business on Saturday, and I guess Wycombe will watch this game and try to do exactly the same thing. They will try to park the bus and try to frustrate Norwich in any way possible. But Norwich could be really happy with their night's work tonight. We've just had a word with Grant Hanley, who, as you know, club captain doesn't tend to get carried away and overly expressive with his words, but you could just tell the satisfaction from his words and his face. Really, they really are quite relieved that they aren't having to talk about another sob story, because it's not been an easy year in that dressing room, clearly, and there's been a lot of change around this club as well. Been a little bit of drama here and there, hasn't there? So if that goal hadn't have come, it would have been very unjust, and thankfully it came in the 87th minute. Lucas Rupp was the man who won the ball as an attack began to break down, and I have to say he was excellent tonight. I have been one of the people who stuck up for him from the start, saying that he's been one of Norwich's better players this season, and I think he did get a little bit of harsh treatment. Certainly between January and March, before the season was suspended, I thought he was a little bit harshly treated. Maybe after lockdown, a little bit less so, because Norwich were in a bit of a mess, weren't they? And frankly, they knew that those last few games they were already down, so that was difficult. But I always thought there was something to come from Rupp in the Championship, and I think he did show that tonight. He was tenacious. He was everywhere. I didn't think it was far from a Mo Leitner performance in the first half of the 2018-19 season. So a real step forward for Rupp. Him and Skipper, they are quite similar, but I think that's probably what Daniel likes. I think you've got two sort of steady eddies in there, two who have got a little bit of a mixture of in their game. They can do the defensive side and they can push forward. But Rupp's touch tonight was excellent. Really, you could see a Bundesliga player playing in the Championship tonight. So fair play to him. But yeah, he wins the ball. Then it's Buendia playing the ball into the box. Adamida had come on. He takes a touch, and I think his initial thought was probably to score or to try and shoot. But Vrancic is in the better position to take the ball off his toes almost and just swipes it low under the keeper in front of the Barkley. A massive goal. You know, Mario Vrancic has scored a few of them here, hasn't he? And this one was as joyous as those two were against Sheffield Wednesday and of course Blackburn, the almost promotion winning goal. This was right up there in terms of relief, and it would have been, again, sadly, just like Saturday. I think we're going to have to say this a lot, unfortunately. I'm sorry, because I know you guys are going to get sick of hearing it, but it's unavoidable. It would have been a great moment with fans here. And it sucks. I hate having to keep saying that, but clearly it's not going to not going to go anywhere anytime soon, is it? So, yeah, 23 shots to Birmingham's 6 and 4 on target to Birmingham's 2. The 2 changes to the team. Todd Cantwell came back into the starting lineup. Marco Stiepermann missing out completely with a stomach bug tonight, but Pookie came in as well, and he played sort of just behind Jordan Hugel as the support striker, and that worked okay. They probably need a bit more time to build an understanding if that's what they're going to do, but Pookie's strength is really playing on the shoulder of the last defender and getting in behind, isn't it? And he didn't really get that tonight, to be honest, because he's then starting from a slightly deeper running position, isn't he? But there were some bright sparks there, and Hugel had another positive performance on the whole. They were both definitely involved in this. The whole Norwich, I think this is one of those nights where you can solidly give 7s throughout the team with in terms of ratings, possibly Cantwell an 8. I thought he was excellent. Rupp an 8. Buendia did a lot of creative stuff. He's maybe just tipping into an 8 as well. Gibson and Hanley on the whole had a good handle on things. They're building a bit of momentum themselves as a partnership. They're both, I mean, we're sort of got the advantage of the stadiums being empty at the moment, and we can hear a lot of what the players are shouting. And Gibson is a real vocal presence. Hanley obviously is the captain, but he's got another leader alongside him there, and of course Christoph Zimmermann. If he's called upon to come back into central defence, he is a leader as well. So that's a good sign. But a clean sheet for them tonight. Tim Krul, he did have a few shots to hold, a few crosses to hold. It wasn't like he just sat on his hands all night and was skipping around his box trying to keep warm. Birmingham did try to hit Norwich on the counter a few times, but in general, Norwich kept them at arm's length. There was one which could have been a nasty moment at the end. It was in the 3rd minute of injury time, and I think the Norwich players did have a little bit of an argument about it at full time. And Emi Buendia charged forward and should have gone to the corner, really. Javi Quintilla then makes it even worse by not keeping hold of possession, and then he had the opportunity to just give the tactical foul away deep in the opposition half. Wouldn't have got a yellow card or anything, I wouldn't have thought. It wouldn't have been cynical because he was goal side at that point, but gets beaten. They streak away, and it's not really a chance, but the ball does fly through the Norwich box. And if they'd have thrown it away at that point, there would have been some serious recriminations, because, as I say, it would have been totally unjust for Birmingham to get out of here with a point. To be perfectly frank, there were moments in the second half that I almost thought were embarrassing for them. Their players shouting things like, "Come on, boys, this is brilliant!" Because they're hanging in there by the skin of their teeth. I really don't think they can leave here with their heads held high just because they managed to keep Norwich down to 1 goal. But just to have a quick look at some of the chances. Rupp had the first shot saved by Neil Etheridge, the former Cardiff goalkeeper. Cantwell thought he should have had a penalty in the 38th minute, sort of clattered after he'd tried to make to get a shot away, but then Rupp and Pookie recycled the ball very quickly. Ball comes back in, and Todd Marked jumped up to his feet and just looks like he's going to slide it into the bottom corner, and we all think, what a big story we've got on our hands here. Todd Cantwell back in the team and scoring, but it just flies wide of the right post. Then just literally minutes after that, Todd wins the ball back himself, nicks it off Jonathan Lecco, through on goal, just the keeper to beat. He has got Pookie and Hugel as options in the box, although there are defenders around as well. Goes for the shot, Etheridge saves with his feet. Probably should have been scoring there. Pookie had a low shot saved early in the second half. Cantwell had a goal disallowed, which was offside. That had... I think that was Rupp that had played the ball into the box for that one as well, actually, if I'm remembering that one correctly. But yeah, he chipped the keeper nicely, but it was clearly offside as soon as he got the ball. There was another one where Cantwell was at the thick of the move, exchanged a 1-2 with Hugel, 1-2 with Buendia, spread it out to Quintilla, who thumped a low cross in, and Cantwell just thumped it beyond the near post. It just felt like it wasn't going to come. As these chances flew past, it was starting to get more and more nervy. Colin made a fantastic sort of goal-saving block from Cantwell. Another chance for Cantwell in the 70th minute. Hanley headed wide in the 79th. And then I wouldn't say it was the turning point, really, but Adam Clayton, one of Ben Gibson's former Middlesbrough teammates. Gibson played for Karanka, of course, at Borough. George Friend and Clayton both in the team tonight for Birmingham. I think they both signed as free agents as well. And Clayton, it was a second yellow card. And I think it maybe was a little bit harsh. He caught Cantwell. Cantwell basically darted in front of him and he didn't see him coming. And then he clatters his ankle a little bit in the centre circle. A bit of contact, but maybe could have just given him his final warning. But the Birmingham bench were fuming. And I guess that rattled them because then the Norwich goal followed within 2 minutes. And as I say, it then got very scrappy and Norwich got very nervy. And unfortunately, it wasn't quite as smooth as you'd like it to be in the closing stages. But a massive night for Norwich. If they get that win against Wycombe on Saturday, then they're going to be very much in the top six. I think they're 7th from the table that I saw, although, as I say, a couple of the results still hadn't been confirmed at that point. So they've got the season going, hopefully, tonight. Daniel Farker with a big smile as he was doing his media interviews. But clearly this is just the start. Clearly there are some very big challenges not too far away. This time next week we'll be at that new stadium in Brentford, at Brentford, and who, of course, were playoff finalists last year. That's going to be a massive challenge. And then Bristol City, who have started the season really well on the Saturday. So as much as this week is a good opportunity to get going, to get some points on the board, to get in that top six mix and relieve some of the pressure, just get some of the naysayers on the back foot for a little while, and a bit of breathing space for what is a refreshed and a revamped team to get going. Then they've got two very difficult away games to follow that week. So there's nothing to get too excited about. This was just the 6th game of the season, if I'm remembering that correctly. Yeah. So we'll see how they can build from here. But positives. Cantwell very much, Rupp very much. Mario Vrancic, I guess, will, there's 2 decent cameo performances for him against Derby and Rotherham. So I guess he may be feeling that he deserves a chance from the start. But as I said earlier in the video, I think Farker really likes the way that Skip and Rupp have got a bit of balance, and we could see that partnership, as well as a partnership of Hanley and Gibson in central defence, start to really grow. So. Plenty to keep things interesting ahead of Wycombe, which it just won't be a straightforward game, will it? We mentioned Adebayo Akinfenwa to Hanley in the post-match interview, and he smiled straight away. He knows what's coming. He knows that that's such an awkward proposition. Basically the strongest football player in world football. He doesn't really get off the ground much, but it's quite difficult to get in and around him, as Norwich found in that cup game at Wycombe. What would that have been, 2 seasons ago, when Jordan Rhodes scored his hat-trick, and he came off the bench that night, if I remember correctly, Akinfenwa, and he did cause problems. So we'll see if he is starting. They are surely going to have to park the bus, but we shall see. Thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you thought of the game in the comments below, and of course Pinken.com is the place to go for all the analysis and reaction, and we'll be back in touch with you very soon ahead of the Wycombe game.